Welcome to the Artfluence Podcast, where we chat about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm your host, Nick Caracan, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Paul Fatkins and Nino Samarzik. And this is episode 5. Okay, so today we're talking about kitchen design. My favorite.
Yeah,
it's where you got your start, right?
Yeah. Well, you guys went off to big fancy architecture firms. I decided to work for Google and do side hustles designing kitchens and baths in New York City. I did that for many years.
Yeah. How did you get your first kitchen? Someone just came up to you and said, "Hey, do you do this?"
So I did my house.
Oh, okay.
And then I, of course, told the world about it. And when you talk to people about something, you know, eventually it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing handyman work, I would tell them I design kitchens and baths.
But you were a handyman even before.
No, I kind of started around the same time.
Around same time?
Yeah. And I did the evenings and weekends when I wasn't working at Google.
Oh, okay. But what about all of your experience with the drywalling stuff? That was much, much earlier.
That was in college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you already started as a handyman, actually.
That's true. There you go. Thank you, Nino.
Mm-hmm. I just added more years to your resume. Yeah.
So kitchens are exciting. Right now, let's say that if we're talking about the elements of a residential property, a kitchen is probably going to be your second or third driver in terms of adding value. First is going to be the curb appeal. Next is going to be it's the primary suite and the kitchen are kind of battling it out right now, right? So if you are spending money on a renovation for your home or for any investment property, you probably want to put a lot of that focus on your kitchen.
And probably one of the rooms is the most expensive one because all these appliances, all these plumbing, electrical things going into it. And
Sure.
It's probably one of the more complex in a residential world.
And not all appliances are created equal, and not all materials are either. So you can have a big range there.
Yeah, there's a range of finishes that can go into your kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get to all that. We're going to just kind of scratch the surface on lighting, hardware, cabinets, appliances, drawing standards, and space planning, my favorite. We can even talk about trends, what we're seeing a lot of right now, and where I think we're going.
Yeah.
And usually we can look at the coasts like New York, San Francisco, and they tell us the future of what's happening.
They're setting up the standards.
Yep,
yeah.
and it all makes its way to the Midwest eventually.
Yeah.
So let's start with space planning. Our job when we go into somebody's home is to evaluate the space and have a thoughtful conversation on how can we make this not only more functional for the homeowner and their family, but how can we add value, right?
Yeah.
So we have to think about a ton of things. We're thinking about, how can we, for example, if we're in an older home and we're doing a remodel, kitchens from 50, 60, 70 years ago, I mean, even 30 years ago, were much smaller than what we're seeing in today's new builds, right? So we're having the conversation of knocking down walls or swapping the dining, the old dining in the kitchen, or just kind of reorganizing the entire footprint of the first floor so that we can make it work. I
think the number one thing, especially if the house is from the turn of the century, right, 1910, 1920, whatever, number one thing, we're always flipping the dining with the kitchen because the dining back then was
It's usually bigger, yeah.
3 times bigger than the kitchen space was.
Yep. But I'm also looking at certain things because we're running into problems. What if we're working with an all brick home?
Yes.
And now we have windows that are not at the level above the countertops that we need them to be. And now we're like, so we're going to have to change the entire outside of the house. We're going to masonry work going on. Is the brick going to match? How's that going to play out?
And for like a overall like a space planning, kitchen is usually like a part of the daily zone in your house, even though we don't want to do that as back in the days they divide a house or even cities on day and night zone. But it's usually one in close proximity to your like living areas.
Exactly.
And as Paul mentioned, we usually have dining right next to the kitchen. And I believe another reason why kitchen grew and dining reduced size we don't have this like in our daily habits. We will mostly like hang out around the kitchen, around the islands when food is being prepared. We eat there, except maybe like occasions like the I don't know Thanksgiving or something. We all line up at the table and eat.
Yeah, I don't
Many
think
people eat in their sofas and watch TV.
I think
Like
it's
my,
indicative of the lifestyle we live
it's
now
exactly
too.
Yeah.
It's go
that's
go
exactly.
go go
You're
go.
on a go,
Yeah.
and you just make the food, and right there you eat it and go to the next.
I have a beautiful dining table that I don't eat
Yeah.
at. It's I eat on the couch, or that's just the way it works, I guess.
Yes, but I will later on. I will mention something about a recreation of the dining table. I think it's a good way to kind of put a little philosophy that I'm trying to induce in my family, because number one things I would like to take them away from the eating and the sofas, because under these pillows I can find everything. So
Yep.
so yeah, but yeah, this can be part like how these three spaces together and in relations to other spaces can actually function properly if designed properly.
So if the kitchen is tucked in the back in a small space, we're now relocating it to a central location.
Yes.
We're looking at the natural light that's coming in the space.
Correct.
We're trying not to change the envelope of the home unless that's already kind of a consideration.
Yes.
And we have the budget and the ability to do it based on the lot size, etc.
Or if kitchen can actually extend to the exterior space via deck or patio, that you can actually hook up your like a grilling space.
Yep.
And put all this creation of the food in really like to be contemporary to each other.
So I have a butler's pantry, or what I like to call
Yes.
a scullery, and it's adjacent to the kitchen, and that has access directly to our deck, which I
Yes.
have my Blackstone on.
Yeah.
Yep. So and of course the scullery has a sink, a beverage fridge, a laundry, a little area for the mudroom with a bench and.
The
co-hooks.
location of pantry is
Yep.
critical too. Like should be probably like a closer to on your way from your, since we are majority of us who's living in suburbia, many know, it's actually go to the house through the garage, and especially if you're bringing your like groceries and stuff, that maybe your pantry should be in proximity, of course, next to the kitchen, some kind of on a way from your major travels with all these groceries to the kitchen.
Yep. So if you have an older home and you have a
Yep.
detached garage in the back, then you're going to want that, like I do,
Yeah.
because I live downtown.
Mhm.
I want to have my, scullery and pantry
Yes.
right where I walk in.
Where you walk
Yep.
in. Exactly.
If you have an attached garage, you live in beautiful suburbia on the outskirts of Columbus, then it's going to be right off the garage.
Right off the garage, yeah, because your hands are full with the stuff.
Yeah.
And next station is going to be pantry, and then after that, your kitchen.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that goes into designing and laying out a kitchen and locating the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just we're gonna open it up and that's it and put an
Yeah.
island done. Right?
Location, as Nick mentioning, like
Location, flow, how you enter the space, where you're coming from, where you're going to, all of these things are factoring into design decisions.
And
right?
we're asking our clients, like, how many family members do you have? Where do you typically
Exactly.
eat? Where would you like to eat? Because we can, based on our design, we can control what spaces get activated
Yes.
and the flow, and we can force, in
Yeah.
architecture, you can force
you
activity
can
in spaces.
habits. You can induce the
Yes.
habits.
Yeah.
And you will see like we are now designing giant hospital. They don't want to call it cafeteria anymore. They want to call it restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it's built as a restaurant. And I was on several of these meetings, even though it wasn't my part. I was just want to listening these kitchen designers talking about how many meals being served, which kind of meals,
It's important.
habits, trends, and much smaller scale. This is gonna be now passed to these residential kitchens.
Yeah, so if I have a smaller downtown home and it's a professional couple, maybe they have
Yeah.
one child. I'm not trying to squeeze in a 6 or 8 or 10 person dining
No.
room area. It might just be a dining nook with 4 chairs.
Exactly.
That's what Sarah and I have in our
Yeah.
home, and I love it. It's perfect. A lot of times, if we're working with a smaller footprint, we're of course implementing an island, because when we walk in the front door, I don't want to have a kitchen I can't see that's tucked away in the
Yeah.
back. I want to see this beautiful island centerpiece. Oh, that's definitely the kitchen, and what a beautiful kitchen it is,
Yes.
right? And I want to be able to have people sitting at the island while they're doing food prep. So now you're activating that space. And then you also have, if we have a Thanksgiving or a holiday where family's coming over, there's still a designated area where we can all sit down and have a meal.
And you always can extend. You know what I'm saying? To sit more people, that's a flexibility of the kitchen.
Yep.
Especially island can play crucial role there.
Yep. Paul and Nino, let's get into like some of the drawing standards that we have, some of the assumptions that we make when we're designing these kitchens of ours for our clients, in terms of like lighting, spacing between the island and, clearances, natural light that we want to take into consideration. Nino brought up exhaust,
Crucial
prior
thing.
to our podcast. And actually, let's talk about that too, because right now, like if I have a rental property, I'm probably putting in like a charcoal filter.
Yeah.
It's to code. It works. It'll, whether it's a hood with a charcoal filter or whether it's a microwave that has a charcoal filter above. And I usually lean towards higher end products, so I like hoods and I like to put my microwave down in the cabinet.
Yep.
But you don't necessarily always have that option.
No. So one thing that we like, my wife, I wish I'm that as a good cook as my wife is, but like one of the first things that we notice is whenever she's like making something or is baking something, my fire alarms goes on.
Sure.
Because I have ductless hood, which
that
pretty
was-
much doing nothing. And so I highly advise for renovations or new houses to have ducted hood.
I know that was one of the upgrades that I know
Yeah,
you're like, oh
that's-
I'll do
that
the charcoal
is-
filter. It's great.
Yeah.
I agree with Nino though. I was like, no, I want a damn duct to the outside. I want it
Yes,
to go
because
directly
honestly, if
out.
you're really cooking something, we are literally like standing, like me and my kids standing in front of below the smoke detectors, and like waving our rags and stuff just to like clear up the air around it. Honestly, when Tina is making such a like a moussaka or something, which is actually there is a lot of baking, and creates smokes when she opens and checks what's going on there. So
No, I think from a rental standpoint, like if you have a long-term tenant in maybe a C or B class neighborhood, the budget won't necessarily allow for some of these other things.
No.
So you go with your charcoal filter, which is an easy solution.
For example, I have ductless hood. I'm probably gonna continue with ductless because for me to run the duct now, where I'm gonna run it, the side or
Well, you'll open up
Yeah,
the ceiling.
yeah.
You'll identify the joist that you can run to and leading to the exterior
It
wall.
would
Good,
be
yeah.
it wouldn't be a minor renovation.
Yeah, it
It'd
will be a
much
renovation.
more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it. Well,
you can do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you'll help me.
I'll help you. Like
Okay,
I help you with everything.
awesome.
Yeah. So I guess if we're looking at a higher end rental or a short term rental or your personal home, you're going to definitely consider an exhaust. I believe the number, without looking it up, is 400 CFM, where we don't have to include a dampener or another air, where we have natural air coming in to offset, because if it's above 400 CFM, like I think I have a 600 CFM and it's dual motor hood. It's a vacuum, right? It'll suck me out into outside.
So maybe I need that.
Maybe you need that.
Exactly.
But if you get that,
400 is enough. 600 is overkill.
but you're also, there's a cost associated with that. So now you got to have a fresh air intake, and we have to show that in our drawings for the city, because they're going to ask. And that's a lot of times why now they're starting to ask us, at least here in Columbus, please specify if you're doing an exhaust what the CFM is.
Yeah.
And then code will dictate on if we need a dampener or not.
Yeah.
Oh, there's other things too. Like you got to have power for whatever you put up there, right?
Sure.
Yes.
And it's like, again, a lot of times if you don't show that, right, the contractor's not going to do it.
Yep.
So it's, again, you talk about drawing standards. Whatever we show in the drawings, whatever we call out, the city's looking at certain items, and then the contractor is looking at
Can
certain
you, Paul,
items.
mention also something about the power and GFIs at the countertops?
Yeah, a lot of times we're doing electric stoves, ovens, so there's a certain outlet that we have to show, right, on our plans. And again, it's information that we have to convey to the city and convey
Yep.
to the contractor.
So we'll ask our clients or the contractor, what type of stove is it? convection oven, because if it's a
Yep.
convection oven, it might need a 240 or 220. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And basically, like, we then need to decide if it's going to be gas, electric, or whatever.
Yeah, and it factors into like load calculations too. Like
Yeah.
we'll show a panel schedule, and we'll actually determine like the loading right of the panel, and show that information in the drawings as well. So even something as simple as, well, I want to do gas versus electric, right, can have impacts on what we're showing in the drawings, how we're showing it, how we're conveying the information to the city and to the contractor.
Yeah. Let's talk about spacing in the kitchen, like between
Cabinets.
cabinets. So like we're assuming that we don't get a lot of clients that ask for peninsula these days, and if we do, I have
To ask about what?
peninsulas.
Oh, peninsulas. Yeah.
And
Florida.
Yeah, and I have if they do, I have a conversation with them, a very polite conversation, saying, "Hey, we stopped doing this in the '90s." But sometimes you don't have
The room.
room for an
Yeah.
island,
To have full-blown island.
or you don't have the budget to make
Yeah.
the room for the island, right? So you
Exactly.
got to work with what you have. But if we, and again, it depends on the circumstances. I think code is 3 feet 36 inches, but that is just not going to be a sufficient enough space for any walkway, especially if you're prepping food and someone needs to get behind
Exactly. Or if you like have a space like dryers that you have to pull out, like
Yep.
open the door and pull out, or your like not dryers, dishwasher, my bad. So if you have to pull out all dishes, so you're gonna
Yep.
need clearances.
Absolutely. So we do 42 inches minimum.
Yeah.
And if we have the space, we'll do 48.
Yeah.
We also need to keep in mind, like, if you have a big refrigerator, it may only be 36 inches wide,
Exactly.
and 30 inches deep or whatever. But when you have to maneuver that into a space, if there's anything that's in the way,
Yeah.
you're gonna need as much room as possible. You're gonna be
Exactly.
wrecking your cabinets.
So that's also key. Like we can mention that after this, like a location of your major appliances.
Yep.
You don't want to have a dishwasher just across the refrigerator, because both things open the doors and pull things out, so you're gonna conflict with each other.
Do you guys remember the triangle?
Yeah.
People don't
It's
talk about
not-
it that much
it's-
anymore.
Yeah.
but it's not completely dead. I mean,
I agree.
I don't
I
think
still
it's
take it-
completely
yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
I don't think it's completely
you said
dead.
it like it's
It's
out the
changed
door.
a little bit, though.
Yes.
You know, it's not like it's not the talk of at the water hole anymore. You
Go
know?
ahead, mention about triangle.
So the triangle
Is
is
this like what, the Bermuda Triangle? Is that the triangle?
no.
No.
no,
Okay.
triangle is between.
You don't go there and
So
disappear.
sink.
And where did Nick go?
Yeah.
He's in the triangle.
No, we'll send you there.
Yeah.
We'll send you there. I'll go to Bermuda though.
Yeah.
All these tropical places.
Yeah.
Nick has. It must
Now
be the
from
weather. or
Hawaii to
something, yeah.
Bermuda.
It
Okay.
is cloudy and
Cloudy
I
today?
love Columbus, Ohio, but it's cloudy quite often. All right, so the kitchen triangle is a relationship between your refrigerator, your sink, and your stove.
Stove. Yes.
Now, it really depends on our design. You don't have to have the triangle. It's not like law.
No.
It's not code, but it's coming from a functional standpoint, so that you're able to, if something's coming out of the fridge and going onto the stove or going into the dishwasher, or what we're washing this off.
Proximities.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there are rules of thumbs that we follow that
Yeah.
are very similar to that. Like our dishwasher is always preferably to the right of the sink. Sometimes it's to the left, but it's always next to the sink or close to the
Because
sink.
of the plumbing.
Sure. Also, if you're rinsing your dishes off,
you
Yeah,
rinse
exactly.
off from right in the
Exactly.
dishwasher.
Yeah.
yeah. We do have some longer kitchens or we have kitchens with multiple sinks or
Yes.
multiple fridges and dishwashers, all these things.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of something that we keep in mind, like from a functional standpoint.
For me, it's like a modified triangle. Like I try to envision flow. Right.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not literally drawing a triangle on the plan.
No,
and saying,
no. But you
okay,
have
I
that.
go from here to here and here to here
Yeah.
and here to here. Right. There's my triangle. Again, like you try to think about how you're going to use the space and
Yeah.
utilize everything, and how you're going to flow. Even again from the garage.
Yeah.
Like from the garage to the kitchen, when I'm carrying in the groceries
Yep.
and going to the pantry, I'm thinking about how I navigate through the space, and do I have to go in and turn right, left, right, or is it like a straight shot through?
Or even if there's like a drop zone where you can bring all your bags in,
Yeah.
and then put
Drop
it away.
zone. Exactly.
So for me, it's like triangle is kind of there, but it's more modified. It's more about
Yeah.
flow in
That's
entirety.
yeah. It's,
I agree.
It's evolved. It was base concept that evolved later on. How we adding more stuff.
Yeah. Let's go into lighting. So how about I know pretty much what we draw. We have lighting standards whenever we do our reflected ceiling plans. I know on the first floor is almost all recessed lighting.
Yeah.
LED recessed lighting. I call them pucks now because they don't have the can housing that they used to have
Yeah.
to do. It's all UL rated now and actually very affordable.
Yeah. Technology improves. Yeah.
So then we do want to look for some key areas where we can dress up the space with some nice light fixtures because you know me, I love Nino walked into my house a couple months ago and he's like, I love these lighting fixtures you have, Nick. They're gorgeous. I'm like, well, thank Kitchler. They did a good job. But yeah, so I think some opportunities to showcase some really nice lighting fixtures would be over the island.
Yeah.
I'm at least at this point, and I change, depending on the decade, but I'm leaning now towards larger and fewer pendants over an island. So I like to have two larger pendants, something that just these beautiful large pendants rather than these three or four little like
hanging things.
For
hanging
me, it doesn't
fruits.
do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Even depending on the size of the island and what's going on, like even one decent lighting fixture. Like I know in our house we have one that has a couple of different things, but it's basically one fixture, right? That kind of extends out to the sides, but it's basically like one large fixture.
Yeah.
So even you can get away with one depending on what type of fixture it is.
Right. And in my case, my house is unique. It doesn't have an island. I actually have this really cool galley style kitchen with a 5.5 foot walkway in the middle, and to each side is all my kitchen function. I actually have 3 mini chandeliers.
Yeah.
Down the center of my kitchen, and then I have also the recessed lighting on the peripheral.
Yeah, one thing about what I learned about commercial kitchen is, you're trying your lighting to be as natural as possible, warm lighting because of the color of the food.
Oh, always.
That is key, and that's what I think it's having the natural light is also very important. That you have good perception of the color of the food, which is tells you if something is fresh or not. So I think that's also one of the keys in a kitchen design lighting.
Yep. I think the other opportunity to do some type of fixture would be like over the dining area.
Yes, that's always like your accent point. But you're right. Kitchen is usually the one that since we have seen tendency, living room is always open and directly connected to kitchen and dining. This trio is always there, like the first thing you see when you open the door when guests comes and stuff. And since you're already spending money on a kitchen, let's put like a cherry on top of the cake and put some good lighting in there, especially above the island. It's a key.
For me, I know when I do a layout, like 4 is the minimum for my puck lighting that I'm going to do. And then there's always something over the central points like the island or the table, right? And then if it's a larger kitchen, you might have 6 or 8 different, again, depending on the size and the configuration. You might even need some lighting like in a hall or adjacent like path, right? Coming from the garage into the kitchen or whatever, right? So the lighting can be, connecting between spaces too.
And also, go ahead, Neil.
No. A question for you. Yeah. I know we are in lighting and we're like just going a little bit back and forward. If you can touch bases a little bit about single sink versus double sink.
Oh yeah, I'm not in the double sink camp. I am in the single basin large sink.
Why? Explain.
Well, I was gonna say then we'll get into whether it's in your cabinets along the wall or in the island. That's the next question.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well,
single or double?
Okay, so double sinks were very common back in the day for this reason. Not every home had a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Right. So they'd wash their dishes.
Exactly.
You'd have one side, and you'd pile up the dishes in one, and you can wash it clean in the other.
Yeah.
And I have a dishwasher now, guys.
Yeah.
Also, a double sink tends to be a little bit more shallow. And
yes.
It just doesn't feel as higher end to
There
me.
was actually one study in a kitchen when they're actually scanning for germs and stuff. Do you know where is the most germs in a kitchen?
I'm guessing it's in the sink since we're talking
It's in
about
a
that.
sink, exactly. So having like I won't say like a dirty and clean side. I will say like dirty and less dirty, and then put everything in the dishwasher.
Yeah. I just put everything right into the dishwasher.
Exactly.
I'll rinse it out, put it right
I
in
mean,
the
you still have to
dishwasher.
rinse it out, but that's like a one thing.
I also just think that there is a design element and a beauty to a larger, deeper sink.
Yeah.
With a nice faucet, right? It reads better, it come across better. Yeah. For me, I like the aesthetic, too.
Yeah. Now, island or like along the wall? Like, are you sinking the island always or sometimes? What's your methodology
I'm
here?
a sink in the island most of the time, because it depends on what. If there's typically a window in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to have that natural light. We're trying to get natural light in every space in the house.
Yes.
Even in the half bath.
Hey guys, bedroom is must.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's not bedroom.
It has to have an egress.
Exactly.
But I honestly, I try to have an opening, even when we're reconfiguring existing homes on a renovation. I want to have a window in every single room. So like even a hallway, I try to get a room into, or a window into, because I want natural light in every space.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of skylights. I like windows.
Yeah.
So, but we also have to be mindful on what our views are.
Yes.
In a lot of cases, we might be looking at, if you're downtown like me, you might have
neighbor's
you might have a
wall.
neighbor that's going to see right in. So then curtains and sheer and all the other things to give privacy. But if we're in a kitchen and it's rear facing, like to the backyard, and it's a gorgeous view, I might put the sink there. You know, I'll have that conversation with the client when we're at their house or
how
during design
about
meeting.
stove in an island?
Good question. We've done it before. If you're going to spend the money on a higher end stove, like a convection top,
like a range.
Yeah, because if you touch, there's things where if they sense a hand or something, it'll get cool. And they actually cool off pretty quickly. It's
mostly like a safety, people can burn if it is an island.
Yeah, if you have a family, you have young kids, I would prefer not to have the stove in the island. If it's our only option, so be it. But typically, I'll avoid that.
You avoid it because of the kids and safety.
Yeah, because if you have it, unless you don't have seating, if you don't have seating at the island, like we have designed a couple like if we're in an old historic building and we just don't have the wall space, we can't touch the envelope, so we can't mess with the windows or anything. So we've actually made a kitchen that's an actual island, or all the function
it's in an island
is in the island. So we have a freezer and refrigerator down below. We have a dishwasher below. Everything is below in this huge 14-foot, like 6-foot deep,
nice
island, this big block. It turned out really cool.
Yeah. So it's almost have that like a wasabi kind of feel, you see the food preparing right in front of you, and it was like it's all cool, exciting.
Yeah,
all those kids are not touching the hot surfaces.
But you're not sitting in close proximity to that, right?
Yeah.
So I would say if there's any type of seating, I would say stay away from it.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to the lighting for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking. One last thing about lighting is, I know we do our standard LED recessed lights on the whole first floor, and we kind of approach like the living space with more of a grid strategy, but in the kitchen it doesn't necessarily follow that pattern. In the kitchen I like to put that recessed lighting where activity is happening. So like I'm not going to necessarily put it right over a fridge area. I will disrupt our grid pattern. And some people are bothered by it, so I'll run it by the client.
Yeah. Because of the look. It's not lined up perfectly, but I see what you're saying.
But all my lighting's on. I have primary, secondary, tertiary lighting. I have under cabinet lighting too, and I have dimmers on everything. So I can truly control. Plus, I have lots of big windows.
Yes.
So I can truly control what's happening in terms of lighting in my kitchen. But I don't need to see the fridge. The fridge has its own light, right?
Exactly.
So I want to place it over prep spaces, countertops, stuff like that, where it's going to actually bring value, in my opinion. So that's just one thing I wanted to throw in for that.
So tendencies in today's life, how we living and working, and honestly, the only time we have, my wife has the time to cook is weekends. And I will say that in majority American homes, the most utilized two appliances are the microwave and refrigerator, unfortunately. And what actually break my perceptions of America was actually my first visit to my friend's Danny's father's place. And when I first time saw a huge excitement and creations of the food
Oh.
in a small space of Mr. P's kitchen.
Mr. Bob Porter
Yeah.
is an extraordinary human being, and he's literally. I mean, he's a VP of a steel company,
Yeah.
and so he has a full-time career, but he is a chef in his own. He's part of food clubs, and I personally try to plan parties at his house
Yes.
so that I can eat his food.
Yeah, I was like, my first time there. It's not that he's like a chef and he's like a captain of the ship, and he's kind of tiny kitchen. You know, when you take it, and I believe it's peninsula. I don't think it's the island.
You're right. It's peninsula. Yeah.
And but how his sons like are overlapping with him like almost like a one single machine. And I was there like just observing how they actually colliding with each other and still, working like orchestra, making this food. And I wish that never been like in this modern life be forgotten. And that's what I'm trying to imply in our kitchen. So that beauty of creation of the food, which is crucial for our health
Yes.
and being, is actually being now just transcendent to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Because in today's modern life, when you go in, we even went shopping with Mr. P, and how he's buying all these different spices and stuff. Because when you go in these now supermarkets, you can buy literally everything from everywhere. But when you see the people carts, they're full with frozen pizzas, So that's our, that's how are we living. But maybe like design the kitchen that remind us over
So-
weekends we actually do some creation there.
Actually, great point. I was actually at Danny's house
Yeah.
last week, and he got a Ninja air fryer.
Yeah,
And so one of the things that I've been designing for a lot of higher end homes and a lot of higher end kitchens is appliance garages, right?
Yeah.
So we have these hidden cabinets and compartments with outlets. Where
Yeah.
we have all these appliances that are the technology that we have now today with some of these, like, I get smaller appliances, I'm doing air quotes,
Yep.
is incredible. I like, you can like, we had some, I don't want to say pizza because we did have pizza for whatever reason, but put a slice of pizza in there and it air fries it and just makes it nice and crispy, and
Yeah.
it does it in a moment. And
Yeah.
you're not putting it in grease or anything like that. It's healthy and it's
Yeah.
fast, and these appliances are beautiful too. So like when we're designing a kitchen, we're doing one now in Bexley, and we have a very large appliance garage. So we're putting our GFI outlets in that space, and we're adding extra outlets so that we can we had like a little quiz with our client, like, well, what appliances do you have now, and do you plan on buying any more, and have you seen the new Ninja air fryer, because it's amazing. So like she goes through her toaster, her coffee maker, and all these things, and we had a conversation about running a water line for her coffee maker, so she doesn't have to refill the coffee maker every morning. It automatically refills. We have outlets for all of her appliances.
Coffee is a big thing for a morning before you commute to work.
But I mean, I used to live in all my rentals, and of course, when you're first getting started, you don't spend the money on some of these more thoughtful things. But now I'm not grabbing an appliance from a different cabinet
Yeah.
and bringing it to the counter to use. I'm actually just opening up my appliance garage, and the doors are getting recessed to the sides.
I know. It's so fancy.
And
Yeah.
then I just turn on whatever appliance I want to use. It's amazing, and it has light in there.
Has a light in it, yeah. No, that's it's in the backstage, and you just pull it out and use it when you need it.
And it looks like a beautiful cabinet when
Yep.
it's closed.
And
Yep.
it's similar to everything that we talked about in the beginning of this, right? I mean, you have to be very thoughtful
Yeah.
about how you're designing and laying out the space so that it can be activated, right? So that
Exactly.
you can have multiple people in there engaging in multiple activities, whether it's, with small appliances and how you're dealing with the small appliances, or how you're utilizing, a couple of people helping you like prepare
Yeah.
food in the kitchen. again, like you want to be able to activate the space and have it function properly.
And especially if you design the kitchen for someone who's going to use it, not for someone who's going to sell that kitchen as an apartment to someone else, and you have to more apply the universal design and approach to it, how can actually work in different scenarios for different kinds of people.
Absolutely.
If you were for example, it's about to design a kitchen for Mr. P, I think I advise
Oh my gosh.
I advise you to go there, to invite yourself to one of his gatherings and just observe him without telling anyone what is your mission, and just track his footsteps and see how to design the perfect kitchen.
Mr. P, if you're listening to this, shoot me a text and get a free design consultation.
Exactly.
If it's
gonna
during
keep
an
recording
event,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Only if it's during an event.
But in other
Otherwise,
cases,
yeah, maybe not.
but in other cases, you have to use some universal formulas to kind of fit multiple standards, multiple users. Some people are going to be more heavily on refrigerators / microwave. Some people will actually cook.
And that's why we ask these questions to our clients. Think about it though. I do drink coffee every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend 15 to 20 seconds, refilling the coffee vessel.
Yes.
Whatever, and if we had a water line that filled it up directly, I could save. I don't know if it's worth it, but if you do the math, say it costs a couple hundred or a few $100s to run a water line to your coffee maker, and it's going to save you 15 seconds a day times what?
Yeah.
20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a couple days worth.
Yeah.
Is it worth a few $100? I think so.
I think so. If you're a big coffee fan like my wife or you, then definitely works for you.
Do you use the pot roast a lot? Well, how long does it take you to go to that cabinet at the bottom of your pantry or whatever, bring it out and put it on the countertop? I mean, even if it's only 30 seconds or a minute, if it's in your appliance garage, plugged in, ready to go, you're saving that time every single time you use it.
So question for you, do you see now more often, because I see that in commercial kitchens and cafeterias and stuff, that trash is being integrated into the cabinets?
Oh, yeah.
Is
absolutely.
that
and
more
recycling.
In recycling?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's a must, and
it's also be careful where you're locating these things, because it needs to be a handy and close, probably to the sink or close to the
usually
stove.
it's in the island because the sink's in the island.
Because of the sink is the island. Because that's where your trash usually goes.
But a lot of the higher end stuff is all panelized and concealed and
including
it's all
refrigerators.
Well, that can be our next discussion is appliances.
Yeah, go ahead.
So your main appliances. I could go through, and this is probably another episode where we really dive deep into this stuff, but let's talk about the quality versus standard. I mean, if you're going to do a rental, obviously you're going to have your entry level stuff that you can buy pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
But let's say this is your home and you have a little bit of extra money to spend. Maybe we want to spend $8,000 on a refrigerator instead of $3,000, right?
Yeah.
But
I just spent $3,000 and I think it was plenty.
It was plenty, but let's have a conversation about that. What if you can get a Sub-Zero refrigerator for $8,000, and they basically have a vacuum.
Yeah.
So when you close the doors, it sucks all the air out.
And that's good stuff.
Your food stays fresh 3 times longer, maybe 4 times longer.
Especially having my kids keep opening that things constantly and throwing the milk because it's spoiled.
Have you seen what's happening with food?
Yeah.
It's getting expensive. What if you didn't have to throw away so much food?
Exactly.
Do you think over a course, and by the way, I would say a Sub-Zero is going to have twice the life. And in some cases, if you buy the really high-end stuff, now you're getting really expensive, but they have a lifetime warranty.
Guys, all this stuff that you're buying on Lowe's or Best Buys, a Samsung's, LG's and stuff with all these bells and whistles, they're not going to last long.
Yeah, they have
they're
a 5 year.
5 years max best. You can pull out from them.
Your Sub-Zero could last maybe 10. And I'm not Sub-Zero isn't
actually
sponsoring our podcast or anything, but I'm just saying let's compare.
That definitely justifies the price, because I think the number one appliance in every kitchen is a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Because our food is stored there.
Yeah. And I think that, let's go into for example, stoves. Obviously, the highest end stove that I can think of is a Wolf, or a Miele. Mm-hmm. I want to give a shout out to my friends at Z-Line. They make an incredible stove that is, I I wouldn't say it's at the same level as a Wolf, but
Mm-hmm.
you're getting a majority of that quality, and like Italian burners, convection oven, just this.
It's a gas.
Yeah, yeah, and you're paying half, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get a beautiful 36-inch stove for $4,000 instead of $8,000 that a Wolf would cost you, or more depending on the size.
Gas or electric?
Well, actually, mine's both. So I have Italian gas burner,
Nice.
6 on top, and then I have the convection oven.
Oh,
So
nice.
It's gas and electric.
Yeah,
Got it.
I'm kind of sad. The new standards, all the gas is going away.
Yeah.
You know,
Really?
yeah. So like cities like Chicago, for example,
They don't want it because of the fire safety?
Yeah,
not
it's
because
issue.
of fire safety, because of environmental concerns.
Oh, I see what you're
So
saying.
it's all electric. It's regulation from the city.
So where are you getting
know,
electric from?
What's that?
Where are you getting electric from?
What do you mean? Where it's you just tie into your you have to tie into your panel.
I know, but all this electric needs to be
It's
produced
also,
somewhere.
also fossil
Well,
fuel.
Yes.
if it's
That's when,
So
yeah, this is not the time.
I know. I have
know.
questions about it. Yeah.
I know. Well, so anyway, that's the thought behind it,
Yeah.
right? It's for environmental reasons.
no,
Because
nah,
the
that's-
electricity you can generate easier, right,
Yeah,
than burning
I'm
the
I'm
gas.
I'm extremely allergic to like a weak laws.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly,
But
they're
it's-
just like
it's
a
a
marketing
trend,
tricks
But
instead
it
of
is the
being.
trend that's happening now. San
Yeah.
Francisco also has
Yep.
the same thing. There's also a client that I was working for before. They do a lot of commercial kitchens,
Yeah.
right, all across the country. And their program standards switched from gas appliances to electric.
Yeah.
So it's a full commercial kitchen with full electric in the entire kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
Same thing for environmental reasons.
I
they want to
mean,
make the
even from a
switch.
rental standpoint, it's less to worry about. There's less
It
liability.
is. It is less
You know, if
liability.
we have,
yeah.
I love fireplaces in our higher end Airbnbs, but we do electric.
Yeah.
Beautiful ones, but we don't do gas
because of the safety. Yeah.
Yeah.
And liability. That's a key.
But I agree with you. To be forced into doing electric is not,
No,
not ideal.
I mean, we have to be forced to create energy on a sustainable way, but not to go all the way around on different direction. You know.
I also think we've made, and this is a different podcast
Yeah.
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah.
but we have made leaps and bounds on this stuff, and the appliances and equipment stuff that we're using is
Yeah.
done a lot more efficient.
They are. They all should be like a 3-star at least. Yeah.
So let's talk about dishwashers.
Yeah.
I think dishwashers is an easy appliance to panel. So if we're talking about refrigerators, the jump from a paneled refrigerator from a non-paneled refrigerator is significant. You're spending thousands of dollars to get that look.
Yeah. To
So-
get a look. Yeah.
So it's really not always worth it, and it's out of reach for some. I rather put the money in, a better appliance than have it paneled.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
But my refrigerator is paneled, and I love it. So if it's something that you want to do to pull everything together and have a beautiful look, do it. Dishwashers, on the other hand, you can get a panel dishwasher, and it's not really that much more expensive.
Because it's already flat.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that
it's a
and
small
it's
appliance.
a smaller appliance. right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's easier for them to make, because if you have a refrigerator, you have to get panels for 3 doors. At least
Yeah.
on mine, I have 2 for the fridge, and then 1 for the freezer drawer. Some have multiple freezer drawers and all this other stuff. So I mean, when you're making all these different panels, it gets expensive.
yeah.
Dishwasher, 1 panel. It's obviously on the smaller side, so it's not as big of a cost in that terms.
Yeah, the one thing I like on refrigerator, what maybe sway me away even if I have a money to do the panel one look cool, is I like to have that like a water feature in refrigerators, and my kids love that, like a ice and everything. But then we can have separate ice maker, I guess.
Yeah, so I have a really nice fridge. It's huge, but my water dispenser's on the inside
Oh, beautiful!
because I have the panels.
Oh yeah.
So if you do have a paneled fridge, the drawback is you can't have a water dispenser on the outside.
yeah, so it has to be an inside.
But I have an ice maker on the inside. I have a water maker.
Okay.
on the,
Good. Good.
Yeah, so it works.
Yep.
I would say if you are putting a panel on a dishwasher, I love Bosch. They just make a solid dishwasher that is priced well, and they're panel ready.
And they're Germans.
And are they German?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they make good laser measurers too.
Yes. And other tools. Yeah.
It's better than like I'm glad Apple's not making appliances.
Oh, geez, I hope they didn't go that
LG
far.
and Samsung and all these technology companies.
Yeah.
Stick to technology, my friends.
All right.
Hey, getting off
So-
track. Go ahead.
No, that's a really
But,
good.
I mean, it's true.
It
Yeah.
is true.
Let's just go over real quick on secondary appliances again. Let's talk about not just function but also aesthetic. There are some lines like Smeg that are built for beauty, and those are also fun. Like if it's simple stuff like a toaster, some people like to get the whole suite, like the refrigerator, everything. I'm not really one to subscribe to matchy. I don't need all my appliances to be the same, especially if they're paneled. They're hidden anyways,
Yeah.
right? So it doesn't really matter. But like if I subscribe to that on a lot of things where like all my hardware doesn't need to be the same. All my lighting doesn't need to be the same. I like an eclectic, unique space. And our interior designers can work with our clients.
Yeah, and some people like to be uniform. Like these people that like the grid. Same
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
What are you using the property for? If
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
if it's a standard rental,
Yeah.
then keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
All that extra time and
all
money
these
isn't worth
simple appliances that have less bells and whistles and less things to go wrong.
But if you curate a space that's unique and different and special, and you had a long day and you come home to the sanctuary that truly makes you happy, well worth it, 100%.
Oh yeah, and if you're one of these who enjoys making the food, that's also good stuff. Like a every good tool to do something.
Yeah.
Good appliances are good for peoples that are really spending their love in the kitchens.
I think you just have to have the right conversation. So when we go out and offer our services, right, whether it's whatever, I think it's just making sure it's a very thoughtful conversation. It's tailored to the person, right?
Yes.
Everybody's going to have their own desires of what exactly they want, how they're going to utilize things. So as long as we're having that conversation, engaging them when we go to design the space, I think we'll hit it out of the park every time.
And that's a good point too, because like for example, cabinetry, and let's talk about cabinetry for a second. If we don't necessarily when we're doing construction documents design the actual cabinets themselves, but we do create the placement for them. So we have the fixture placement, the equipment placement, all that stuff, outlets, everything. But when we show cabinets, we're showing them as kind of blocks, right? Mm-hmm. And not showing the actual function. Is it a 3-drawer? Is it a 2-drawer?
Yeah, and to be fair, if the client wants to pay for some additional views and some additional time, we could do elevations, we could do 3D views, we could do whatever it is that you want us to do.
We can put 3D cabinets.
Yeah.
We could even do a rendering for you if that's really what you want.
And for our higher end projects, we do that.
Yeah.
And it's important to have an interior rendering because now we can see like the back. How high does the backsplash come up?
Yes.
Where is do we have sconces for like our secondary lighting? Where are those placement? What height are those at?
But
where
at
are the outlets located?
At least the standard level, like you said, we'll at least be thoughtful and block out what's going on with the cabinets.
And one key thing is that all architectural items and electrical items and mechanical items, they should be well coordinated so we don't have overlaps.
Yes.
We don't have countertops hitting our outlets or backsplash hitting outlets, depending what kind of type of backsplash you're doing. But coordination is key. Clearances are key.
That's why I think there's value in interior designer. So, which is a service we offer.
Yeah.
I'll also say this though, like. You can if you are on a budget, take your drawings from your architect and you can give that to your cabinet designer and they can create a rendering for you. A lot of times they'll do it for free. Or
like a Home Depot, I think you can do that thing, does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe it's not high end, but still, yeah.
But they'll give you a layout for free, and at least you can get an idea. I would then though, if it's not the designer's not somebody who's done hundreds and hundreds of kitchens, I would then take it back to either your architect or your contractor or somebody who specializes in that to get some feedback on like, hey, did you think about this? Have you done that?
Yeah. Again, compensate them for a little bit of time to do like a shop drawing review before you put your order in, right?
Exactly.
You shouldn't just go and say, great, order it, done. Like you said, they're just going to spit out whatever and great, there's your kitchen.
When you're dropping, a few grand on a kitchen or more, depending on the kitchen.
Get a second opinion.
For just the cabinets. Pay a couple $100s to a design professional to just review it and give you a third opinion on, how that plays out, lays out, and functions.
Yeah, a couple other things maybe just worth mentioning to the end is that like designing every space, we have to meet minimum code requirements. That means all your outlets above the countertops needs to be GFIs.
Yep.
You have to pay attention to that. Um, and was mentioned also all these clearances. There is another subject worth mentioning is universal design that we mentioned earlier on, how that plays out. Maybe your countertop height is not going to be no longer on 3 foot high, maybe it's going to be in that 2 foot 10 maximum for ADA approach. So that gives you that extra flexibility in the design of the kitchen, because in
your
the end
outlets
we are
will be
all
slightly
aging.
lower.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be just more approachable. We're probably going to have maybe more clearances around your cabinets. And
You know what's interesting too? Yeah, more clearances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And clearances have changed too in the more
Yes.
recent codes.
Yeah.
So you actually need more space
Yeah.
now.
because we are bigger.
Yeah.
What's funny is though your GFI countertop outlet will be a couple inches lower, but your outlets that are on your wall will
They're
be
gonna be
a
higher.
couple inches higher.
Because you don't
Yeah.
want to have people bending
Right.
and trying to plug the stuff in.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
No, super important to keep in mind. Well, I mean, we can get into like, if you were in higher end kitchens, you have your ice makers, your beverage fridge, your freezers. There's a bunch of stuff that we can talk about and add, depending on how you live in the space. But those are
One thing that is not particularly aesthetical but is good. I actually just saw the commercial. Is this like a safety blankets? Did you guys see that anywhere in the kitchens?
oh yeah.
You guys see? Yeah.
So for all of our Airbnbs,
Mhm.
we have to have an extinguisher,
Uh-huh.
and we don't just put it under the cabinet
Okay.
because usually depending on the what if the
State of panic. Yeah.
what if the cabinet is right, or the sink cabinet is right next to the stove.
Yeah.
So we hang it on all our walls. We try to
Yeah.
spend a little bit extra for a more beautiful.
Yeah.
Like we don't get a red.
Yeah,
extinguisher, we
yeah.
get like a white one that's a little.
Got it.
And we put it on the wall. Kind of blends in with the wall,
Mhm.
and it's there. You can also get a blanket and put that in there. I would. I mean, obviously, if it's for your own home, you know what it's used for. But you can take that blanket then and put it over the stove.
Yeah.
Most of home fires are actually caused on the stove.
On the stove, exactly.
Yeah.
And actually majority of them, and that's why they blanket, it's actually create less damage, because when you start, plus you have to activate the fire extinguisher. Many people don't even know how to activate it.
Yep.
Because they never did.
Yeah, I remember my dad taught me when I was young.
Mhm.
He's like, "Go for it, son." Like if one expired and you have to get a new one, he's like, "Hey, go ahead. This is how you do it."
And you make the
Have
snow
fun, go
behind you in
out-
your
go outside.
backyard, yeah. I like it.
Go
yeah.
spray that young boy down the street.
Turn him to snow, man. That is so cool.
We could talk a little bit about hardware.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, I'm not a matchy kind of guy. Everything doesn't need to match.
No.
In my home, we have solid brass that's unlacquered, so it'll patina as it ages.
Oh, that's so cool.
Obviously, that's going to be a little higher price point, but I love the look. Some people want it to always look new and always look the same. So then you would get a lacquered finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in terms of knobs and pulls, I forget which one's more universal for accessibility, but I think I can't recall. I like to mix it up though.
Yeah, I like to mix it up too. One thing that I don't like is without any, like, unless you have this like the one that you touch and they open itself.
Oh yeah.
But one that they don't have any handles or pulls, and you have to grab by edges, which I actually have in my kitchen. I hate those.
Yeah.
Because I always grab on the wrong side.
Well, that's why I like hardware.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I like hardware.
And,
Yeah.
I love a good modern look, but
Yeah.
if you do that, everything kind of needs to follow suit.
Exactly, and it has to be technology. It means you have to press it, and that will open up.
Yeah.
I forgot what is the name of that mechanism.
Yeah, I forget too.
Yeah.
But I would lean away from that in
Yeah.
a rental. And
Oh, yeah, of
it's more of a
course.
higher end home
Yeah.
that you're buying specifically for you.
Exactly.
What kind of trends are you guys seeing? Anything come to mind in the kitchen?
I see them being big. I see them being unutilized in many homes because of the way how we're living, which is unfortunate. As you mentioned, there's more islands, and I think the reason for islands is just the flexibility and people gathering much easier.
Sure, you can do homework, you can have meals,
Exactly.
you can chat.
You can have the homework and have a Cheerios in the same time and have spill it all over your homework, which happens
I
a
say
lot.
homework like I'm in school or have kids
it's
who
like
are.
that's why my kids doing. You know how they are. If I force them to go at the table, which is really like an arm wrestling thing, and I'm trying to do, just to have that culture of the family getting together and enjoying the meal that mommy created, and for them. For example, after mommy will create the meal, then my younger one will go and start opening cupboards and cabinets and start making her own food, which is a banana, water, ketchup, mustards all together.
And somehow some of it ends up on the floor.
Oh, of course. Floor finishes in kitchens.
Ah. So,
I was going to say, that's one of the things that the trends in general are finishes, right?
Yeah.
There's too much neutral, right? Everyone's trying to balance everything out, and I don't know.
They're trying to hit wide range of people. That's a problem.
Right?
Yeah.
For me, I don't necessarily love that. I love it when, like Nick said, you want to have some character, some flair, something that speaks to you, right? Your space is like talking to you. There's a dialogue there.
Yeah. So we can go in a lot of different directions because I love flooring adds a lot of value to the home, right? So I would be thoughtful about it. If we're doing I always go back to rentals because that's what I do on the daily. But if we're having a rental, I want to do a higher end luxury,
vinyl.
Yeah. Something that looks real, that has some texture to it.
Got it.
And is beautiful. And I would run that throughout. So I don't subscribe in this particular case. I want the floors to all be the same. I don't want to have different floors in different areas of the house.
Yeah.
So whatever's in the living room,
just extends.
Yeah. I don't do carpet. I know. Even in the bedrooms, I don't do carpet. I do.
You can do a throw, rug down.
I actually hate carpets anywhere. To be honest with you.
Yeah. If we're doing luxury vinyl, I'm probably doing it everywhere in the house, even the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a rental, even for higher end stuff,
it's just more durable.
Yeah, you can make it work.
Yeah.
Again, you can always add an area rug or something.
Exactly.
100%.
Area rug.
Exactly.
Put the accent on it.
So it's not like all hard surfaces. You can add some soft surfaces in
and that's
there.
good for noise too. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about a rug is if it gets dirty, and by the way, a lot of stuff gets in those rugs. You can throw it away. You can wash it. You can buy a new one.
Exactly.
Or whatever. After 5-10 years, it's a lot easier to swap that out
than pulling out the carpet
in a day
out.
than like pulling up carpet and recarpeting.
I'm actually on a mission to replace my carpet in the first floor, like sooner than later.
And with all due respect, Paul, we're in your house right now. You have a beautiful big home, but you got carpet in the bedrooms in the second floor, third floor, where you have a 5-level split. So there's
I had the same, but
speaking of kitchens, we spent our upgrades on the kitchen because that was very important to us to have all the upgrades there. So the carpet's the default.
But my
finish.
point is, how long have you been here? How long?
A year.
And
1 year.
And you're already seeing wear on
Yes.
this, which I'm telling you wouldn't be the case if we had.
Especially having a pets.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
God knows what is in these carpets.
Now let's talk about wood floors.
Yes, that's what I want to ask.
Because I have wood floors in my house. I love wood floors.
Yes.
For our higher end stuff, we do wood floors typically. And in my home, we have 8-inch wide planks, white oak, and we just do a natural stain. And that obviously comes at a certain price point. So, but I have the hardwood go into my half bath and into my kitchen. We tiled our full bathrooms. So all of our full bathrooms we tiled, but everywhere else gets hardwood. If you have a house that you're remodeling where you could have carpet and just maybe there's depending on the age of the home, I would take a look and see if there's any hardwood underneath that carpet.
Yeah. That was such a shame to discover that someone put the carpet over the hardwood floor. Oh my God!
While refinishing hardwood is not an easy process because you got to take all your furniture out, and it's going to take a couple days. Might have to relocate for a little bit. It's still going to be around the same price point than putting something over it. And certainly less expensive if you have to tear it up, like if there's any rot.
I think you have in your Chicago apartments, you have a hardwood that you actually do all this refurbishing and turn out to be a completely different place.
Oh, we spent time to completely. It was like a reddish brown finish, right?
Yeah, red
so
oak.
we just no, it was white oak.
Oh.
Oh my
It was
God.
the stain,
Stain
that gave it
was-
this reddish
yeah.
brown.
It's probably like a oil-based stain and it ambers
Yes.
a little bit.
From like the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we stripped it and just did a natural finish with a little bit of varnish and clear and beautiful.
See
Absolutely
how
beautiful.
the natural look of the finishes is actually
That's what
persist.
Everyone's doing it now.
Persist.
Yeah.
Just persist through ages. You know what I'm saying?
And if it does get dinged up, and listen,
Yeah.
my new floors, I've already dropped stuff on it.
Of
and
course.
put some stuff in it, but honestly, that character is fine. It's still the flooring, the integrity of the floor still remains, right? It doesn't look like old worn carpet.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Paul.
So you're old. It's fine.
Full wall backsplash is usually what you
now
see.
I will agree with Nino. I'm on a mission. At a certain point,
Yeah,
the
I have a
will be
carpet
going.
too.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
But it's, you know,
I hate it.
5 years down the road when
Yeah.
it's worn out, then it'll get
It just
replaced.
doesn't look good in a
right
space.
now it's still brand new.
You also have 3 times the house,
Yeah.
and that gets costly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I did in my previous house, all like wood laminate and changed the look dramatically. Question for you. Back walls, backsplash, full height, material, what you usually do there? What you
So-
see as a trends?
Yeah, well, we're seeing in the luxury kitchen area, they're taking the countertops right
Like
up
a
the wall.
slab.
Yeah.
They taking slab like a horizontal and up vertical.
If you
I don't,
get like
I don't know if I love that because then it's all. I like a little bit of difference.
Difference.
You
Yeah.
can have it be similar in tone and character, but to have the exact same surface with the exact same finish.
How you see tiles in a kitchen these days?
how do I see them?
Yeah.
On the backsplash?
On the backsplash area, floor, kitchen. I mean,
Yeah,
So would you do the same finished countertop up on the wall, or would you switch to like a tile and do a tile?
Fair questions. Okay, so back in the day, you know how you had like granite countertops or quartz countertops, and then you'd have like that 4-inch backsplash of
yeah.
the quartz. So that we don't see that anymore.
no,
obviously.
that's gone. Yeah.
Now we're typically seeing tiles less expensive than bringing stone all the way up. So like on a nice, beautiful home, what we typically will see is granite or quartz countertop, and then we'll see a backsplash. But the backsplash is going to go up to, if we're on a budget, you'll see it stop around 18 inches or at the bottom of the cabinet.
Or bottom, which is
Somet-
probably 2 foot something.
It's between 18 and 24
Yeah,
inches.
24. Yeah.
What I always suggest though is if we have the budget, which you'd be surprised, it's not really much more, is because cabinets are there, right? But like if we have a window, I'll go ahead and let's take
All
that
the way up to
all
the
way up.
ceiling.
It's a better.
I agree.
It's a much
I
better look.
agree. Just
Yeah.
much better look.
In our case though, I did a marble tile backsplash in our scullery, all the way up the wall. And then in the kitchen itself, we did the slab.
Yeah.
And we had like a quartzite with a leathered finish, and we just went right all the way up.
I have in my house, and I kind of like it, and it's built in 2000. They have this kind of rough, like a Spanish look, like a tiles in a bathroom and a kitchen, and I kind of like that look. The only
Ooh, I have
problem
a
is
question.
I cannot replicate that.
I have a question for you. So you're
Yeah.
saying that it's the same tile in your kitchen and your bath?
No, it's not the same.
Oh,
It's
okay.
same look, similar look.
Got
It gives you that like a hacienda kind of look.
Got it.
You know
got
what
it,
I'm
got it.
saying?
Yeah.
But
would
no, it's not.
Be great
because-
for an Airbnb.
Yeah. No, it's not. Even size is not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other questions do you have?
Oh, geez, I think I
I've
explored
talked about
all
a
of
lot.
mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's left?
I mean,
what's left?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
kitchens. You can talk. We probably can have podcast number 2 just about kitchen.
Absolutely.
Again.
And we might even dig into we can bring in some like cabinet reps or appliance
Yeah.
people.
I think.
Yeah.
I think big picture, we've hit all the important topics. I mean, unless
Which
there's
is,
something that you
but
think
you
that we're
usually
missing.
see them: proximities, clearances,
Yeah. Yep.
features, code implications. I think we covered trends.
Sometimes on our floor plans, we do have to note like HVAC coming in below the cabinets.
Yeah.
So that's something that we keep an eye out for and watch for. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we covered. Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up then, guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna put some. We'll put our friends from Z-Line and maybe some appliances and other recommendations that we talked about in our notes
What was
below.
that refrigerator maker that you were mentioning?
The Sub-Zero.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I almost got one, but I didn't. But
Yeah.
Coming from New York and going to all the showrooms with like, I would host like smart renovation meetings for my handyman business and when I was in real estate, when I was a realtor. And a lot of these showrooms will be like, oh, come on in. If you're going to bring people to our showroom, we're happy to host. So we'd have these groups of people come in, and I started falling in love with all these higher end appliances and stuff.
Oh, I mean,
I'll tell you what, if you haven't like used them and just go to a showroom. A lot of the bigger cities will have like these very beautiful functioning showrooms. You can go and touch and feel the products.
oh yeah.
There's a world of difference between
It
that
is.
and an entry level fridge.
It is. It is. I was able to actually get one of these and touch of these expensive, just like a look itself from miles out screams out that, it's this higher end, higher tier
But
product.
then again, priorities. Sometimes we're
Exactly.
spending everything we got to get into that home that's
Yeah.
perfect for our family that may be a little
Exactly.
dated, and we just need to wait, until the time's appropriate to make those updates.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you. With that said, we are done with episode number 5, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.